Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here today with Rob Henderson. We are here to finally talk about the end of White Lotus. Rob, so I don't know. I felt that was satisfying. I just felt satisfied. What did you feel last
I
night?
was less satisfied. I think it's still, one of the better shows on TV, but I just think that the previous season stuck the landing a bit better. I think we were kind of misled. We didn't get to see a lot of things that I think a lot of people were hoping to see. We spent most of this season watching Tim have sort of daydreams and nightmares about his family and what happens if they find out, and maybe he should just kill everyone. And then we never actually get to see them discover his crimes, his financial fraud, his attempts to kill them. Yeah, that never really fully was fleshed out. And I think
Well,
a
they
lot of
did.
people were kind of
See
looking
their. You
forward
did
to it.
see them looking at their phones at the end.
Yeah, but like that wasn't. I was hoping
Enough.
that like there would be a full on confrontation. Some of the other things I thought were satisfying. Like Piper, like all of the conclusions for each character made sense to me, and that was satisfying. Like the way each character ended up where they were with Belinda, with Guy Talk, with the family. Everyone kind of ended up where the show was sort of foreshadowing them to go. Same with Rick. I don't know if I expected Chelsea to die the way she did. I guess there's going to be spoilers, but otherwise, yeah. Like I thought like overall it was satisfying, but just less well done than previous seasons.
Yeah. I like that kind of you know, he is your father. It's like a kind of Star Wars thing. He killed my father. He is your father. Yeah, that was I thought that was cool. That made sense to me. I'm like, "Oh, yeah." When I heard it, that's like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Because yeah, his mom, I guess, was just this like dumb woman who just wanted him to hate his dad or something. So she told him that his dad killed his dad, and then
Yeah.
yeah, he was like confused when he met him, and then he says, your mom is a liar and a slut, and then he comes in and kills him, and he tells him, you didn't miss. I knew your dad. You didn't miss out on much. So he's like kind of saying he's not a good guy. And then yeah, I thought that was kind of that was fun. Before we get to the ending, we have the thing that I was just kind of wondering about from last night was the Loki, his explanation of what happened. He's like, I'm just a people pleaser. I saw you and you were left out, and I just like what was that?
Yeah, I guess that's another part. I guess like of the characters, the family one was the least satisfying. Like, I guess it's kind of realistic in a way that like, for something like weird like that to happen, there's not going to be some spectacular showdown. It's just going to be like we're awkward and let's try to forget about it and let's not talk about it. Which that actually feels like the most sort of mundane, realistic um, next step. But that was weird. Like I'm a people pleaser, and you just like to get off. And then his brother was like, yeah, Saxon was like, you can worship me, but you can't worship me. And that was like his way of, I don't know, friend zoning his own brother. Like we can,
Yeah.
let's just be friends, let's just be brothers, but you can't do anything weird or sexual like that
Okay.
again.
Yeah, yeah, it's not plausible. I don't take that at face value. I'm just a people pleaser. Oh, you must want to be jacked off by your brother. Like, I don't think that that's like what a people pleaser would do, right? Unless he's a very short term people pleaser who doesn't like think
No,
beyond that.
there's a sexual attraction there, I think.
Yeah,
That's
and then but
undeniable.
then Saxon, yeah, when he says you are, you can worship me, but you can't worship me. It's like he kind of says what it really is. Like, you can't be attracted to me, or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, you can't like do weird sexual things with me. But they kind of came like I thought it was interesting that the two brothers where they kind of intersected at one point and crossed over because in the beginning, Loki seems to be I guess like a more introspective and curious and still like fumbling his way through his own identity. And Saxon is this like sexual swaggering, quasi predatory guy. And then
Mm.
by the end of the season, they flip over. Oh yeah, and Saxon is the protein shake drinker. But then by the end, Loki is the one drinking the protein shake and doing weird sexual things. And Saxon is the one who's starting to evolve a little bit, and he's reading the book that Chelsea recommended, and he has that moment of epiphany when Chelsea is sprinting toward Rick, and he like has that look on his face, like,
Mm.
wow, that's what happiness looks like, or that's whatever, like a happy relationship. And so I think like both characters weirdly became their own brother, or like stepped more towards who their brother was, or the persona that they projected. So Saxon actually ended being like kind of a better person in a way than he was at the beginning, whereas Loki was maybe worse by the end than he was at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when he was trying, yeah, I don't know. The right. I think that's the kind of the that I think is right. What the relationship is like when when Tim tried to kill them. It was kind of weird. Like, how does he know he gets the dosage right? He's just like, okay, I got 5 people. I'm going to like get all these. Like, he doesn't know,
Yeah.
right? He's like, and then like, but throughout the series, he does stuff that doesn't make sense, and we're just like, okay, he's on drugs, but he's finally like sobered up now, and he's had a few days to process, and he's still acting in ways that are just like completely nonsensical, right? He just like he gives them these things. He has no idea. They could just all be sick. They could all die. He doesn't know if he has enough to kill everyone. He's just kind of guessing. And then he forgets it, and like, well, it was weird. Loki makes the doesn't clean it out. He just sees this dirty
Yeah.
blender and just makes it, just
Yeah.
doesn't rinse it, just uses it again and gets his protein shake. But you were right about the Chekhov's blender. You understood that the blender was going to have real significance. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
the
thought
way
it
it
was
was
going to
kind of
mask bullet point or bullet shots fired.
yeah
But yeah, it came. I mean, I thought that was at first I didn't believe it, like with Loki just reusing the blender. But then I thought, back when I was 18 and I was like, whatever, like there are dumb teenage boys who are too lazy to like wash a blender or rinse it out even, and they're just like, well,
yeah
it doesn't smell terrible, so whatever.
yeah
And then also like, oh, there's a little bit of pina colada in there. Maybe I'll be able to like get a little buzz from
yeah
this. When you're 18, you don't know anything. But I thought that was unrealistic. Like Tim when he like asks the hotel worker, "Oh, did you say that these are poisonous fruits?" He didn't like. There could have been a moment where he could have like gone online, did a little research, asked ChatGPT, like
yeah
how many seeds does it
yeah
take to kill someone from this rare
yeah.
rare tree or
Might not
something.
answer that question. Yeah.
But like, yeah, no research whatsoever. Yeah, like you said, he's just guessing. Like, I'm just gonna like cut up 4 or 5 of these fruits and go for go for it. That was really, I thought that was kind of stupid in a way. I guess you could make the argument, oh, he's like hopped up on lorazepam and he's like drunk half the time and he's just not really thinking things through. But yeah, that would have been a dark ending. I do like how he kept going around. Like, he's like, his wife says, I couldn't handle being poor. I'm not built for it. His daughter is like, oh, they didn't have organic food at the Buddhist
Yeah.
monastery. I can't live like this.
Yeah.
And then his son, right, Saxon was like,
Yeah. I'm
this
nothing.
this job is all I have. I'm nothing without this job. Nothing without you. And then Loki's the one like, yeah, I could be poor. And he's like,
Yeah.
you're the one who gets to live, son.
Yeah, that's like okay. He gets to live. He like that's gonna be a great life for him. He knows his dad murdered his entire family. He's gonna be known as that kind of guy. That's like what is that? That's like obviously not good for him. Um, the week before when Saxon was like, I thought that was unrealistic. He's like, I have no hobbies. I have nothing interesting about me. All I have is like, okay, it's true, but like people don't usually just come out and admit that to themselves, right? That was kind of too much self awareness.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess for a character like Saxon, that would be too self aware. You could imagine Loki saying something like that, something like, I don't know who I am, or I'm a loser, or something. But Saxon, he started out like the first half of the season so confident and so sort
Yeah,
of outwardly self assured. So for him to say, like, actually, I'm a loser, I'm nothing without the job, yeah, that didn't really fit. But I guess like maybe the show was attempting to like show his evolution over time, right? Because like by the end, he's reading books, although he's kind of self conscious about it. Like Piper asks what he's reading, he's like, "Who
yeah,
cares? It's a book," and like teases her about it. I looked up which book it was.
uh huh,
Um, Let me see here. It's a so this was a recommendation from Chelsea, and the book is called where is it? Saxon reading a book. A guy. Oh, Start Where You Are: A Guide to Compassionate Living.
okay.
Um, which like that sounds like the kind of
Is it
book
by
that.
a monk or something?
Well, yeah. So this is the kind of book that you would expect Chelsea to recommend because Chelsea's into astrology and whatever. And so, yeah, the description, it's an indispensable book for cultivating fearlessness and awakening a compassionate heart. And so the author Pema Chodron is an American Buddhist nun, um, resident teacher in Nova Scotia, the first
Yeah.
Tibetan monastery in North America established for
Yeah.
Westerners. So yeah, I mean, this sort of tracks with
Yeah.
the general, like,
Yeah. I think.
Buddhist, Eastern flavor of the show, or
Yeah,
this
I think
season.
I think Saxon's an idiot. Like, I think he's a legacy admission. He goes like, "Oh, you read a book?" She's
Oh yeah,
surprised.
yeah.
Like, I
He's
went
like,
to
I went
Duke.
to Duke. Yeah, that was
Yeah, it
great.
must be a legacy admission because he's he's like so ashamed of reading. Like, people are like not that intellectual, anti-intellectual. Where like he never read a book in his life, and then like his family's surprised that he's reading a book, and then he's like ashamed of it. To be like
I know
that,
people like this though.
are
Rich,
they
like I know,
smart?
I know. Well, they're like athletes at elite university, so I don't know if Saxon played like water polo or
Well,
something.
his dad's really, really rich and went to Duke, so it's probably legacy is probably the better
Yeah,
explanation of.
legacy. Yeah, fine, but like,
Yeah,
I mean, you have to like. Obviously, you're not stupid if you go to one of these schools, even if you're a legacy or an athlete. But I know people who are either athletes. I don't know. Legacy doesn't come to mind, but like that, there's a type of person who goes to an elite school, but they still like feel like reading is not who they are. Like they don't feel like overtly
yeah,
intellectual.
yeah. I get
They're more
that.
curious and intelligent than the average person, but they don't fit like the archetype of an elite college graduate. So I could like
Yeah,
the Saxon character, like I that made sense to me that he will read and he's not afraid of being seen reading, but he's also feels like ambivalent about it and doesn't like people sort of digging into what like his intellectual curiosities too much.
no, he is afraid of being seen reading. He like at least from his family, he hides it. He's
Mm. Yeah,
but like
he pulls the book out though later.
yeah,
So yeah, there's
but
like an
my
ambivalence there.
yeah, but my like he's like so taken in by like Chelsea's like intellectual life. So it's like someone like Chelsea who's not supposed to be a genius, and she's
Yeah.
like, I don't think this is supposed to be a very high level intellectual book, but he's like kind of blown away by it, and it kind of changes him. Like it indicates he's never really read anything. This is like the first thing he's read, so he's like that impressed. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, he just comes across as just kind of dumb. Yeah, really dumb. Like talks in like kind of metaphors, like oh yeah, not metaphors, like kind of tropes. These kind of just he's like a character, like oh you should want girls, money, go lift weights. It's a kind of manosphere, kind of simple minded, kind of guy. Yeah, but I was talking to a lawyer friend. We've talked about this before, but I talked to a lawyer friend, and this is not how it works. They don't just take all your money. Like, first of all, they seize your assets. If you're a flight risk, they seize all your assets or something like that, or they are afraid you're going to spend the money. Tim is probably not that. And then even if you're convicted, it's not permanent. I mean, they don't like if you look at like laws, they're like this law has like 10 years, up to 10 years in prison, or like $100,000 like fines for like breaking the law are like pretty low. Like if he's as rich, he thinks 10 million is a big deal. I've never heard of someone just getting 50 million to 100 million or whatever seized, especially if you didn't make that much money. If they're all ill-gotten gains, that's one thing. So the idea of the whole premise that they were going to be permanently poor was false. So I don't see how like that kind of makes sense in the context of the show.
That didn't make sense to me. Like the fact that they were able to get back on the boat, the fact that like there haven't been any.
Well, the
I
boat
mean,
is paid for, right? Isn't the boat? That's part of the trip, I think.
yeah, but
I
don't
think.
they they had like no purchases were made at all with a credit card that entire time? Like I guess you could keep charging it to the room and then pay out at the end, but then
Yeah,
at the end of the
they'd realize
stay,
when they checked
yeah,
out. I should have figured it out. Yeah,
yeah, that the payment didn't process. Or I guess if you're rich enough,
you pay
if
all
you're
expense paid trip. You just pay them beforehand, maybe.
maybe,
Maybe.
or like it doesn't go through and you can sort of work it out in a like just say like okay,
Or
well
they
we'll
didn't
figure this out
actually.
later.
They didn't actually freeze it. He was just told. I'd be surprised if they didn't freeze your assets, but we don't know that it actually happened.
Yeah, yeah, maybe things weren't as bad as we were led to believe. Um, I think it would be funny if in the next season, uh, one of the Ratliff family, or maybe even more than one, worked at the next White Lotus resort. Like they actually do lose everything, and you see like
Hmm.
Saxon as like a concierge or
Yeah.
something. Like, they find a way to bring these characters back in some
Yeah.
form or another.
Well,
Um,
what if Belinda owns a just buys a White Lotus, like because she's like, oh, maybe I'll buy a beauty salon, and then it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna do that, but like, oh
Five
no,
million is 5 million enough to buy a white like could you buy
yeah.
like a Four Seasons for 5 million? I
I
don't
don't know. Maybe you
know.
could get a
Yeah,
loan. Maybe you could get a loan. I don't know. Maybe she just has such
yeah.
fond memories of the White Lotus. She just wants to own a White Lotus,
No, I think she'll just become like
or with
a
like a business. She could go in with a partner, maybe, or something.
yeah. Well, she'll probably just return as like a remember the Tanya character? She's like I'm a member of the Blossom Club, you know, like some like high level
Yeah,
regular visitor or guest. So we'll probably see Belinda as like a guest in a future White Lotus season.
yeah. I
But
think we're
yeah,
not done with her. I think she's kind of like the eyes of the audience. She's just like this wide-eyed black woman, like I think you killed her ass. You know, she's kind of got that kind of feel. She's like this kind of black narrator who's like kind of just always like,
there's some code
shocked by what's
switching
going on.
with her. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that. I think she's supposed to be the viewer. Like this is just like a beloved kind of trope, like this like black bewildered character who's just kind of like there with the audience and like being surprised and entertained by what's going on.
What did you think of that interaction with Zion and Greg? Did you buy that Zion would be such a skilled, you know, and cocky? I mean, I don't know how skilled he was, but yeah, yeah, there was an element of skill there,
Yeah.
and very cocky in asking for, you know, multiples of the amount that Greg initially offered. So they went from 100,000 to 5 million.
But they're, I mean, it was kind of, I mean, I get like if it was a public place, but they're like in his house and they're like threatening him. I don't know. It was like, aren't they afraid of Greg? Or Gary, whatever he is here. I mean, aren't they're afraid of him, aren't they? I mean, like, doesn't like, he's like, oh, he's going to kill me. Like, no, mom, I'm going to be with you. And it's like, you know,
Yeah.
you're in his house. He could just shoot you. Like,
Yeah,
it's
or he
kind of,
probably has armed guards around, or he has like, you know, some security on the property.
yeah.
Um,
But I mean, I guess it's fine. He's just like a very arrogant young man who it kind of worked out for him. He's like, I take it on MBA, let the businessman speak. He's like
he
a
went to
very
U of
kind
H.
of, yeah.
I do
What
like
is
the.
what is that? What is that even? University of Houston? What is
I
that?
looked it up. Yeah, University of Houston.
That was funny. U of
But I do
H.
like the credentialism on this show because you have the Saxon character saying, "Yeah, I read a book. I went to Duke," and then you have Zion over here saying UNH. You know, studied business, MBA.
Is that an
But
impressive school? I mean, is that a good MBA program? I don't
I don't
know.
know. I don't know. But you know, I think they're like, but that type of person exists though. You know, that's what
Yeah,
they. There are people who like brag about their wherever they went to school or their
yeah,
degrees. Um, but I thought like Zion like negotiating like from 100K to 5 million. Initially, I found it unbelievable, but then I thought like the whole scene like at first doesn't make sense, but then when you think about it, like Belinda very clearly wanted the money, right? Like she was willing to like potentially put her own life in jeopardy, even her own son. Zion was very confident that he could do it. And so they're just like, okay, well, you know, like if there's like a one in some percentage, you know, whatever chance of winning a lottery here, why not go for it? Even if it puts our lives in peril. And
yeah.
then it ended up paying off for them. And I think like Belinda could sense that Greg was good for it too. Um, but yeah, to go from 100K to 5 million, and I mean, like that. I think that's not like you should always ask for a bit more than what the initial offer is, especially when it's open ended and the amount is unsettled. I think it's actually like pretty good
Yeah. Yeah,
scene
I think
there.
so. I mean, we were surprised at kind of Belinda's kind of smoothness, just walking out and then saying, "Go back in there and tell them, you know, this and that."
Mm-hmm.
That was impressive. Yeah, but the other thing is that unrealistic. Like, you ever try to transfer a large amount of money between accounts? That's a
Yes.
lot of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. You
It's like I
can't.
wake up in the middle of the night. Oh, I have 5 million and 12,000. I left my routing number in my account.
No. It can take like yeah up to 48 hours in some cases,
Yeah.
and yeah, like I've never transferred in the
And
millions, but
internationally, and this
yeah,
guy is kind of like, and like, what's going to happen with like her taxes? Like, this is going to be very suspicious. She's got a 5 million foreign transfer of money. That is like something that authorities are going to like look at. I mean, it's
yeah.
kind of, he could have, the son Zion should have said Bitcoin. I mean, he would have been the kind of guy into crypto
Oh,
nonsense.
interesting.
I mean, that would have
Yeah.
made more sense than the 5 million transfer between accounts. That's hard. Like, you have to go through so many layers of verification. If you said like 10,000, 20,000, you know, there's a law. Like every transaction over 10,000 or something, it's a war on terror thing. Like, has to be kind of reported somewhere. And foreign stuff it's hard, it gets looked at a lot too. I don't know, maybe Gary or Greg, he's like kind of on the run. I don't know if his bank account is still US based or what. um
Yeah,
but
or it's
yeah, I
under a
mean,
fake name or a fake identity, or he
yeah,
has like friends in the States that can like very quickly do this for him. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I guess there are like they could hand wave it away. Like it was like it struck me as unrealistic too, where she was like, "Well, let me check my phone," and like they just had the conversation with him half an hour ago, and she's expecting 5 million to drop in her account like that. But even 24 hours later, it's not realistic to see that. Unless like unless they have some hand wavy explanation or like a cryptocurrency thing. um but then there was that interesting sort of full circle moment where Belinda is talking to Porn Chai. Remember, they were like talking about the possibility of
yeah,
going into business together, and then Belinda's like, "Oh, circumstances have changed, and I can't really commit it to anything right now." And this is exactly what happened in season one with Tanya and Belinda, where early in season one, Tanya and Belinda, like, Tanya's like, "Oh, I really like you," and is like,
yeah,
gassing up Belinda and telling her, "Oh, I can invest in you." And then later, Tanya kind of rescinds that offer and says, "Oh, like maybe
yeah,
now's not the right moment." And now Belinda's the rich one, and now she's the one disappointing
mm,
Porn Chai. And so I
yeah.
think this is supposed to be something about how money will corrupt you, or like once someone strikes it big, they don't actually yeah, basically it has this corrupting force.
Yeah, a poor Chai. I mean, it was kind of unsatisfying. What was his deal? We thought he was a little bit suspicious. Like, let's go into business, and then Belinda kind of gets suspicious. Like, looks at him, but then he like seems like hurt. She doesn't, want to do something with him. So it's like, was he in love with her? Was he a scammer? Like, it is kind of unclear.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. There was that weird like scammy feeling early on between them. um
And by the way, he's out of her league. I mean, like it's kind of like I think I think when like that scabby scene, I think she was like kind of suspicious. I felt like a disappointment in her face, like, oh, of course he doesn't like a fat old woman like me. He's just kind of scamming. I thought she had that kind of realization, but
Yeah,
then it
I mean,
seems
maybe she
like
did this time. I mean, maybe like she still feels that way, but it's easier to say it's about timing and circumstances and other
yeah,
things rather than like, oh, he's like truly not attracted to me. That's more painful, maybe to acknowledge out loud.
yeah.
Um, but yeah. I think like so they both had so both
Well, he's out. I guess he's out of her league, but he's a third worlder, so it's like a kind of guy who's like he lives in the third world. So it's
well,
like
it's the gender reversal of
yeah,
the losers
the
back home, the
ties.
LBH
Yeah,
guys. Yeah.
I mean, and she is yeah, she's rich, but like even she's rich by global standards, by Thai standards already. She had $12,000 in her account. It's probably it's probably doing fine
Yeah.
by that's a lot of money to them.
That's a king's ransom in
Yeah,
Thailand. Well, yeah. Okay, so yeah, she was kind of the the Greg, like the female version of Greg, going to Thailand and getting a much more attractive person than she otherwise would get in her home country. But so Belinda had kind of a similar trajectory, I thought, as I mean, not quite the same, but there are similarities with her and Guy Talk, because Guy Talk also had his principles,
yeah,
and he was kind of unwilling to be violent, and would make references to the Buddha, but then he was willing to compromise his principles for material gain, right? Like Mook is saying, you got to be tough and blah
right,
blah. He doesn't want to hurt anybody, but
right,
then his boss, the Jim's wife, I don't know how to pronounce her name, the Thai lady, is like, shoot him, and he
yeah,
shoots Rick in the back,
yeah,
and then he's rewarded for it in
yeah,
exchange for him compromising his own principles. He's rewarded. He gets a promotion. He gets more money.
yeah,
He's got the cool shades.
yeah.
He's probably got Mook as his girlfriend, and so he went back on his own values just as Belinda did, and they were rewarded for it.
Yeah, no, he does have Mook because when he's driving like the limo or whatever, you see her in the background. She's like kind of
Oh,
looking
really?
on
Okay.
admiringly. I believe so. Yeah, I believe that
Yeah.
was there. I believe so. It's made
That was a
explicit.
surprisingly realistic portrayal. I thought it was. I thought like, especially given how reluctant I think a lot of Hollywood portrayals are to traffic in gender stereotypes. Largely, they tend to be true. This
Yeah,
was a case where like a woman like sees a man with some potential, and then just keeps pushing him to be more ambitious, to be stronger, to be more successful, and then he like literally has to kill someone, and then that's kind of what
yeah.
delivers him into this higher
Well,
social
okay.
rank
First
to
of all, I
win
have
her
to say,
over.
Yeah, I have to say before we get to the analysis, like it's another one of these things. Which I don't know if it's realistic because, like, I don't know about Thai law, but like in American law, a guy's walking away from you, and you shoot him multiple times. Like, have you have a lot of time to think about it? It's like shoot him, and you shoot him in the back multiple times. I don't think that's illegal. Like, I don't know if that's illegal killing. Like, I think he would have legal trouble if that happened in
Even
the
for
United
Luigi
States.
Mangione.
Even Luigi Mangione,
Even Luigi. Okay.
even
Yeah.
Luigi. Yes, I don't
Well,
think.
Luigi killed the, he killed the United Healthcare CEO. He shot him
Yeah,
in the back. So,
right. Yeah. Well, it's kind
um,
of I mean, that's kind of known as a cowardly way to kill someone. So it's kind of funny that that becomes his like, his calling card. Like that's how he proves his manhood by shooting. But like even legally, like I don't think that that holds up. Maybe Thailand is different. I mean, if it's a mass shooter situation where guys killed a few people, like I think
yeah.
you get a lot of leeway. But still, like he's holding a woman and walking away, and he's like his back is completely turned to him, and he's not moving towards him at all. Um, I don't know. Like, okay, maybe that's fine. But in Thailand, we could assume the law is like, I probably
Especially when
they're
you're backed
rich.
by someone super
Yeah,
wealthy,
yeah.
and they probably don't like, I mean, like look at the optics. You have this Thai security guard, and then this like,
Dirty for yeah, this old dirty old man
foreigner
foreigner.
who has
Yeah,
this shady
who
past.
just killed a
Who,
few other
yeah,
Thais. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I think
yeah. I
like the
like
optics. Yeah.
I like how Rick killed his competition too. He conveniently killed those two other bodyguards. That gets killed
Yeah. Well, I think it was
off.
supposed to be like the show kind of would hint at Rick having this violent, interesting, dark past, right? Like he's friends with this Sam Rockwell character who's also kind of a shady guy who's very comfortable in the criminal underworld. And so I think we're supposed to believe that like Rick has experience with guns and with violence, although
Yeah,
it doesn't spell it out for us. But yeah, it was a little too like two very accurate headshots in a row. And he had the benefit of hiding behind that like drum thing or whatever. So I don't know. Like it was fine, I guess. But yeah, I thought yeah, the guy talk storyline that was actually a pretty satisfying ending. It was
yeah.
went very much against what you thought. Like his twists and turns throughout the show were actually entertaining.
Yeah, I thought that he seemed like a cursed and tragic figure. I thought that we thought that something bad was going to happen to him. We imagined him go. Remember, we talked about him being an incel shooter, or we talked about him, you
Self
know,
shooter, yeah.
like we thought that would be like the, that would be the cause of the gunshots. And we also, we just imagined like Mook would like never find anything, and it went that direction. She went on the date. She was disappointed in him when he wasn't ambitious, and we thought, okay,
He
it's
was gonna
kind of
quit the finale.
yeah,
He was like, "I'm gonna leave this job. I don't have it in me." And she was like, "Well, I'm gonna have to whatever. Like, maybe I can't make dinner tonight. My
yeah,
mom needs help." And
yeah,
then he asks, "Well, what about tomorrow?" She's like, "Let me think about it." I was like, "Oh, bad, poor guy
yeah.
talk." You know?
Yeah, poor. Yeah, we didn't think Guy talk. We didn't think he'd pull through. But he got lucky enough. He got to shoot a guy in the back
That's what
and
it
prove
takes.
himself. That's what it
Wait a
takes.
minute, that's the lesson, right? Because Luigi Mangione shoots the CEO in the back,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
gets the
flooded with
girls.
love letters.
Yeah,
Guy Talk shoots Rick in the back, and Mook is like, like save me a seat in the limo or whatever.
yeah.
So
I guess women don't have a nuanced understanding of kind of ethics of where you shoot someone. It's just as long you just have to get the job done. That's what they care
you
about.
just have to shoot a guy who's richer and more successful than you, and you ascend.
Yeah, I mean, well, when these serial killers, the ones they get like the letters, they're not always like the most honorable killers. They're not people who kill people in duels. It's like, like what's that guy, Richard Ramirez? It's like, he kills like he rapes and kills women, right? Like old women and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like women have a strong preference of how you kill people as long as you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess yeah. Well, interesting. Well, yeah. So the guy talk storyline in the end, like I guess like a lot of these characters start in one position, end up in the other. Like I talked about the two brothers, how they kind of like intersected and then crossed over, and then Guy Talk started in one situation of like being, trying to be peaceful, being unwilling to commit violence, very non-confrontational, like the scene in the bathroom with Rick, where he's like, "I think you have something," and Rick's like, "What?" And Guy Talk's like, "Never mind." And this time, Guy Talk, he kills someone, he's willing to commit an act of violence, and he's rewarded, and he starts out much better than or he ends much better than he started out, rather. And so I thought like that was a neat, satisfying ending for Guy Talk. But I don't know. The Rick storyline I was less like impressed by. Actually, the entire thing, like from Rick going to his dad's house, or like the guy we now know is his dad, Jim